Okay, I'm going to give a shout out once again to Owen Lacey. I learned this on his ICANS course, which was the International College of Applied Nutrition and Strength. And it was one of the great thing with Owen is that he's able to distill very complex ideas into very, very straightforward, simple methodologies that you can really, you can embody and put into practice like that. And my favorite one, and I tell all my clients this, is the A to G of healthy nutrition. And it is something, if, you can look at any given plate and say, right, am I on track with this meal? Does this meal adequately represent what I should be eating? So A is adequate protein. So adequate protein with every single meal. And obviously I do nutrition plans to give people an idea of what that size is. But, if you've got, for a woman, say a palm-sized portion of protein, or for a man, 2 palm-sized portions of protein, you're on the right track. Just making sure that there's protein with every meal is already a good step. So if you've suddenly gone, oh, blimey, all I had was a slice of toast with marmalade on it, no protein there. So you suddenly start making better choices. You start to go, oh, okay, I need to, maybe I'll put a slab of ham on top. And so already that's a better choice. It's not ideal, but it's a better choice. Okay, so B, balance your fats. What do I mean by that? Have an adequate ratio of different fats in there. So avocado, coconut, macadamia nut, fish oil, things like that. Fat is essential. Fat does help with satiety, and it helps with blood sugar management, and it's important for myelin sheathing on the brain, and it also coats the organs. But obviously you want the right types of fat, not the kebab fat, but the decent fat. So extra virgin olive oil. One of my clients, Jane Young, actually has an olive grove, and she produces her own, and it's beautiful. The difference between that and shop bought stuff is, you can't even compare. So there's a shout out for her. I don't know whether she's got any in right now. She might be like, no, I've got no stock, but I'll put it out there. And where were we? Yes. So C, curb or control your carbohydrates. Now, if you're somebody who's got adrenal issues or thyroid issues, you might need a little bit of a pep in the way of carbohydrates to keep your energy levels up throughout the day. But if you're someone with blood sugar management level issues, then you might want to keep them lower. So that is something that's very bespoke. And I usually talk to clients, and I would need to do a full workup, maybe on their bloods, look at their HB1AC, do a full dietary recall, look at how they respond to foods. But you can never really go wrong by controlling or curbing your carbohydrates, as low as 20 grams, maybe 50 grams. But for most people, you don't have to go mental. I tend to do well around 100, 120 grams. But if I wanted to get leaner, they're going to have to go down. D, diversity. Okay, so choose something different. I started eating asparagus, haven't had asparagus in ages. Some green beans, just chuck something new in, have a bit of different colouring. Just go random, choose something. I got a carrot the other day. I'm not a big fan of carrots. I grated it, stuck it in with some radishes and other bits and bobs, and made a kind of coleslaw thing out of it, and it was actually all right. So yeah, just aim for something new and take a bit of a chance on it. What's the worst that can happen? You don't like it? Well, don't get it again. E, eliminate. Common foods that I would eliminate: gluten, sandpaper in your gut. I'm sorry, I don't care what anybody has to say. I've attended 2 lectures with Dr. Tom O'Brien, who's an expert in gluten intolerance. And I tell you what, it doesn't necessarily mean, oh yeah, I'll get a bit bloated after bread. It can be anything from rheumatoid arthritis. It can cause Hashimoto's. It can impact your thyroid. It can cause joint pain, brain fog. They even there was one anecdote he told us about somebody who had lesions on the brain that actually went in the absence of gluten. So it's not the same stuff as we had when we were kids. It's milled in a different way, and loads of preservatives and crap in it. So read Wheat Belly or Grain Brain or any one of 150 million books on that. And Charles Poliquin, one of my mentors, was never, he was adamant that was something that you take right out of the diet. Dairy, sometimes you might not be dairy tolerant. Soy, definitely shelve that. Soy tends to lodge itself in the estrogen receptors that are more are reserved. They're not reserved for soy, basically, and it can cause all sorts of issues. It can once again impact the thyroid. Soy also is made in vats of aluminium, so that soaks in, and so that you've got a bit of heavy metal toxicity. And yeah, so it's something I'd never recommend. It's marketed at women who are intellectual, who went to university and health conscious. Okay, so if you're listening to this and go, but I thought soy was great, you're probably that person, and that's not criticism. That's who they're marketing it to. But I would nix that, because there are no health benefits to soy, and don't let anybody tell you otherwise. And also, so where are we? Soy, dairy, gluten. Yeah, there's sometimes other ones, but that once again is a specific workout to a client. If you've got osteoarthritis, I might take out things like nightshades, like tomatoes, but you'd have to see how people get on. So that takes us to E, eliminate. F, fasting, intermittent fasting, great technique. One of the ways I'd introduce it is do intermittent fasting light and just maybe go for a 10-12 hour eating window. So you eat all your food within 12 hours and then you stop, and you're aiming for, let's say it's a 10-hour window, a 14-hour window where you fast. So what I tend to do is I do that overnight, and I tend to find that I personally do well having something to eat more at lunchtime. But for a lot of people, they won't. They'll be waking up and be ravenous. I just don't like to force people to eat when they're not hungry. One of the things that you can do to trick your body is if you stop eating at, say, 5 o'clock, you should wake up and feel ravenous. But to be perfectly blunt with you, the kind of hours I work, I tend to just eat later in the evening, and it stops me picking, and I will have a healthier meal. And it seems to work for me. So that's my individual approach, but everybody will be different. So yeah, fasting has got a place. And then lots of different types. There's time-restricted feeding where you work in a certain window. There's intermittent fasting. And it's finding what works for you. And once again, that will be a conversation with the client and seeing really, how their lifestyle fits around it. So there we are, the A to F of, yes, A to G, gut. So gut health, absolutely imperative. Probiotics are essential. I see so many people with gut dysfunction. How many times do you go to the toilet? What, a week? No, a day. And they go, I'll go once a week. Okay, that's not normal. So gut function is another thing that can really impact on your ability to lose body fat and to to really stop being bloated and stop discomfort. And there's a whole questionnaire I do on that. So if you're thinking, yeah, that's me, drop me a line. I'm more than happy to help and give you some positive feedback and information that will empower. So there we go. It was, I think I said initially it was going to be A to F, but I even added a G. And yeah, that is that. Alongside maybe a calorie deficit would work well. Personally speaking, I would always start the other end. Before I start telling clients what they can't eat, I tell them what they can eat. So the first thing I do is I set a protein goal, which is going to be the subject of my next post.